Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight at our Candidates Forum at the Crest Theater. This is provided in part by the Delray Beach Center for the Arts in conjunction with the Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce, and we thank you all for being here. It's a very important event, and we're glad that we always have a full house so that you are here to meet the candidates. My name is Kelly Freeman, and I am Vice Chair of Government Affairs for the Chamber, and it's my privilege to welcome you, and I'd like to introduce our guests and our candidates. First off, I'd like to introduce Dan Castrillion, Chair of the Board for the Chamber. Dan, come on, stand up. And our President, Karen Granger. And before I go any further, let me just remind everybody, please turn off your cell phones or put them on silence or vibrate, whatever you do, so it doesn't interrupt the candidates. We are taping this tonight. All right, as you entered tonight, you were given a piece of paper that was the open letter that the Greater Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce provided to our residents and our business owners. In this letter, we state key issues that are critical to the growth, the culture, and the quality of life here in Delray Beach. And tonight's forum will focus on those issues. It's the Chamber's firm belief that our elected officials should know the issues, be able to articulate their position and their plans on how to solve these issues, and have a professional and civic qualifications necessary to serve in this capacity and to serve our city. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidates running for seat 3, City Commission. And this is in alphabetical order. Bruce Bastian. Whoops, what happened here? Mitch Katz, sorry. Christina Morrison. And my friend Josh Smith, who I'm sharing the podium with. We greatly appreciate these candidates and their willingness to serve. And now I would like to introduce our moderator for tonight's event. He's been with us in the past, and we're thrilled he's here with us again this year. News broadcaster Jim Sackett. Go ahead. Jim retired in 2011, and I think he's been here every year since, so thank you very much. After nearly 34 years anchoring for WPTV News Channel 5. He was also host of the award-winning Thursday's Child segment, where he helped to find forever homes for children up for adoption. Again, give him a round of applause because he does a great job, and we're thrilled that he's with us. And now, I'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. And first of all, I'd like to extend my thanks to the candidates who are with us this evening and to the audience here at the Crest Theater for being with us tonight. First of all, let me touch on tonight's format. The candidates will be making opening statements. Then I will be asking the candidates some questions. Then the candidates will ask each other questions, and we will be concluding with closing remarks. We have our timekeeper again this year, Karen Granger, who will be holding up signs to keep the candidates on track. If they kind of stray over the time limit a little bit, I may have to jump in, but I know that's not going to be the case. And finally, caution to our audience, if I may, please no outward showing of support for your candidates, because it does nothing more than take away the candidates' time. So we appreciate your consideration and respect for their responses during this debate. With all of that said, let us begin this candidates debate for seat 3. We're going to begin with an opening statement from each of the candidates, and we will begin in alphabetical order. Bruce Bastian, you will go first, and you have up to 2 minutes.
Right. Before I do get started, though, I would like to thank the Chamber for having this event, and more importantly, I'd like to thank everyone here, because this is a really important process, and it's very nice to show that commitment that it's important to this city, so thanks for that. So let's get started. There is a reason why we're here, and that is because we all love Delray. We love the beaches, we love the community, we love the downtown, we love our neighbors. We love our neighbors like my family who moved here in 1955. They started 3 businesses, 2 boutique hotels, and they actually probably have one of the original mom and pop shops called Hi Ma Hi Pa. And that's 4 generations of true love for Delray. But I also want to take the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about myself so you get to know me as well. On a personal level, I'm married to my beautiful wife, Colleen. We have 2 lovely children, 10 months old and 5 years old. And it's fortunate for us that we have the opportunity, like many of you, to raise our families here and live here. On a professional level, I've gotten a dual degree program at Washington University in St. Louis. I've spent 21 years in the technology industry. Last of the 16 has been with Cisco Systems. That has given me the opportunity to be able to work with small and large businesses alike. In my current role, I manage the U.S. relationship for a global consulting firm. I manage the teams across 13 states in the Southeast here, including Florida. In the past decade, I've had a great opportunity to work with the C-suites of all these organizations and build strong relationships. I'm also, respected with Cisco, I'm on 3 boards, the Green Implementation Advancement Board. I've been appointed by the city to MPO board, and also I started one with HPD. But you know, it's not about this. It's about the skills that I can provide this city, that I can provide this seat as on commission, because as we look forward to the next 3 years, we have to worry about the economic vitality, how we deal with our neighborhood safety, and then also dealing with the complex issues like mobility or even our developments. So I want to take and say thank you for me allowing to earn your support over the next 26 days, March 10th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bastian. Mitch Katz, 2 minutes, opening statement.
Thank you. I also want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event. I've looked forward to coming here every year to watch, and I get to participate this year. I also want to thank all of you for coming out. This is an important part of the process. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. 13 years ago, I went on a first date with a beautiful woman at Boston's on the Beach, right downtown. Matter of fact, she's sitting right there. We took a stroll along Atlantic Avenue. We ended up right here at Old School Square. We walked back, and I fell in love with my future wife that night. But something kind of neat, I fell in love with this town as well. Today, we live in Bexley Park, a neighborhood with our 2 children, who also are right here, Hayden and Shayna, who attend public school in Delray. For the last 8 years, I've been president of Bexley Park Homeowners Association, where we have 243 homes. I manage a budget there of over $700,000. What's interesting is I've worked diligently to keep the community beautiful as president, but kept our maintenance without increases so that we've only had an average increase of 1.4% a year for the last 8 years. And if you ever lived in an association, we've had 0 special assessments during that time. For the last 2 years, I've chaired the education board for the city of Delray Beach. And in my professional life, I work for a large university where I partner with corporations, state college systems, and some of the largest school districts in the country. Recently, by attending and speaking at commission meetings, I was finally able to convince the city to install guardrails along Barwick Road so children that live in that area could get around safely to and from school. And if elected commissioner, I'd be the first one that actually lives west of 95. I believe I'm the person that could bring this city together, one Delray. Whether you're in the east, west, doesn't matter. We're one, and we need to work together. People ask, why do I get involved? Why do I volunteer? Giving back is part of my DNA. It's who I am. After earning the Eagle Scout rank, I've led a life of civic and service and volunteerism, and I hope to tell you a little bit more about that, and I would ask for your support and your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Christina Morrison, 2 minutes.
Good evening, Jim. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks to the Chamber for hosting us tonight in Old School Square. Good evening. My name is Christina Morrison. I'm a mom. I'm a Grammy. I'm a sister. I'm a business partner, and I'm a full-time resident of Delray Beach, and I love this city. I've spent over a decade volunteering on several boards, committees, and events throughout our city, including the Site Plan Review and Appearance Board, the Financial Review Board. Plus, I served as a city commission for an interim term in 2013, so I know what I'm getting into. It is now time to take the experience to the next level to be your next city commissioner. And I'm here tonight to earn your vote. I've been on a listening tour over the last 6 months, talking with residents, business owners, and community leaders about their concerns, and I want to hear your concerns. I've heard about traffic issues, explosive growth in our downtown and along Linton Boulevard, downtown parking issues, and taxation. And I've heard that we need to be nicer and definitely more civil and foster the spirit of collaboration that brought our city to this wonderful point it is today. I share these concerns, and I will work daily, if elected, and find answers to them. I'm running for City Commission because Delray Beach deserves the great future, and we need to work on securing that great future now. We need an economic development plan to guide us into the future. We currently don't have one. We need an impact study to detail how the current growth spurt will affect our future, so we need to know how to proceed on future projects. And we need the latest traffic control devices to control our gridlock. We need a more fiscally responsible city, and we need to protect our neighborhoods. I will work from day one to make these things happen. My name is Christina Morrison, and I want your vote on March 10th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Josh Smith, Jr.
My name is Josh Smith, and I guess I'm the senior member, since I've been a resident, for 49 years of Delray. Let me express my sincere appreciation for being allowed to relate to you my views on some of the many issues, that our residents in our city are being confronted with. I want to be clearly understood from square one, unequivocally, that my every effort with regard to decisions will be geared toward representing what's in the best interest of our residents. I want to be a significant part of a continuation to move our city in a positive direction. In short, I'd like to be a vehicle through which your voice can be heard. All too often, we become grossly involved in a myriad of things, that we feel that are relevant, and we end up forgetting about the most important thing, our residents, the people. I don't want to lose sight of my primary objective. You can rest assured that I will never lose my focus that you are the most important part of whatever I may endeavor. One cannot separate economic development and residents. At the top of my priorities will be doing what's in the best interest of our residents, while at the same time doing what's in the best interest of our city. One cannot separate the two. A vibrant economy and our residents, they are inextricably joined at the hips. Development is directly related to the economy of our city. And make no mistake about it, our economy is the lifeline or the lifeblood of any city or municipality. Without a vibrant economy, I would be seriously restricted in attempting to represent what's in the best interest of our residents.
Mr. Smith, your time is up. Thank you very much. And thank you, candidates, for those opening statements. Now we're going to move on to questions that I will give you. You will have 2 minutes to respond. And Mr. Katz, you will respond first, and then we'll go down the line. The first question, civic engagement. The Chamber of Commerce believes it's important that a candidate have the knowledge of the city and past experience necessary to fill the vital role of commissioner. Where have you been involved in the city in the past, and in what capacity? 2 minutes.
Thank you. That's a great first question, because I've definitely been very involved since the day I moved here. I moved here 12 years ago, but for the last 10 years been very involved in my association as a homeowners president. But as well as that, very involved in the PTA where my children go to school. Recently, I was appointed to the education board, where I chair the education board. One thing about the education board in that position is giving me an opportunity to help the city and all of our children in this city by working closely with superintendents, the school board members, ensuring that our children are the ones that they're thinking of when they're making those decisions. Before I started getting involved in the boards themselves, though, 6 years ago, I went through a program called the Residence Academy. Something the city did, so if you want to be civically involved, they had this academy where we went through and spent 6 months learning about every single part of the city and how it worked, whether it was finance, accounting, to the city manager's office, waterworks, even the sign shop. We knew how the police station fire, we went through everything, and it was 6 months. After graduating, I had a better understanding of how our taxpayer dollars are used and how they're collected and how they're distributed throughout these different departments. And it gave me a better understanding so that when I became a little bit more civically involved after that, that I would know kind of how the city works, who to go to for what. But definitely stayed involved in with the education board has been a great opportunity. And the one thing is that I feel that with civic involvement, it's not just us getting involved, it's bringing people, all of you, into those positions and into the conversation. One thing I'd like to see is some more town hall meetings, something where we're engaging the citizens so they know what's going on, so that we can have a dialogue. So the commission, because the commission has to listen to the people. And that's why I'm up here, because that's why I'm not taking money from the other people. I want to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Ms. Morrison, same question.
Thank you for the question, Jim. As I stated before, I've been a city commissioner, so I know exactly what I'm getting into. While I was city commissioner, I voted against the hiring package for Louis Chapman. As a portfolio manager for many years, I hired and fired many managers, and I knew that he wasn't qualified. I gave him a impassioned plea not to hire him, and we still hired him. I voted against that. I also voted to provide a smart growth plan for our Delray Medical Center, which allowed it to become even greater and provide more services to our community than it did even before then. So that was a very important hallmark as part of my city commission days. When I was on SPRAB, I fought very hard to design properties and projects, help design them and put input in so that they were better for Delray. And one that I can speak of is the Seagate Hotel, which is right over the bridge on the south side of Atlantic. The developer first came to us with the porte-cochere being on Atlantic Avenue, and he was very adamant about wanting the porte-cochere where the cars enter on Atlantic Avenue. And the other members of SPRAB and I just worked very hard with that developer. And as you'll see today, that porte-cochere is on the side of the building. It doesn't impact traffic, and that property is gorgeous. It's a very, very big part of our success story here in Delray Beach. I am a graduate of Leadership Delray, which is a training program here for to learn about the city. I did that in 2009. I was on SPRAB, the Site Plan Review and Appearance Board, for 3 or 4 years back in the early 21st century, and I spent 4 years on the Financial Review Board getting very involved with the city finances. Our committee worked very hard and made several recommendations to the city to both save money and increase the revenue base for our city. So I'm ready to serve today.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
My civic involvement goes all the way back to around 2000, when I was an integral member of the Visions for Delray. And of course, it was an experience within itself, but that was the very beginning of what has come to fruition, as we look around, we see every day now. In fact, former Mayor Jeff Pearlman and I made the recommendation for the arches, that just east of I-95. I have also been involved in several race relation committees. I recall having been on a couple of those with Mr. Warner, who's sitting in the office, in the audience. My civic involvement with regard to, city issues has been to the extent where I assume that, the city commissioners are getting a little sick and tired of me coming before them, expounding on the various issues that I feel, that adversely impacting our citizens. So I am a civic activist, have been for a very long time, and intend to fully continue to be a civic activist and an advocate for our residents and for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Bastian.
Thank you, Jim. I'm on 3 boards with Delray Beach. The first is the Green Implementation, let me try that one again. Green Implementation Advancement Board. It's not really one you can say that fast. But it's about advising the city on sustainable practices. Something that I think a lot of cities throughout the U.S., as you look at them, are using sustainable practices to have a competitive edge. And Delray, is one amazing town, and one thing we need to be crisp on is always sharpening our pencil on how we can always be competitive in this market space. The other one is I was appointed by the current commission to represent Delray Beach in the Palm Beach County's Metropolitan Planning Organization. So I represent Delray on all transportation issues in all of Palm Beach County. We deal with long-range transportation plans. We also deal with short-term issues like the repaving of Linton Linton Boulevard. So, what's important there is that, when we get ahead of that, we can actually change how the MPO does things. And we were actively able to do that just in the past month. And then last is human-powered Delray. Being in this city and having seen and being able to travel to a bunch of different cities, I see how they do mobility, and it's amazing. It's freedom. It's not based on the automobile. So we decided to start human-powered Delray, which is to deal with mobility issues in our city. It's a major problem that we have today. I think, we probably had a lot of traffic getting here. Just kidding, but it seems to be a major problem all the time. And these are things that, we created with human-powered Delray to make that change. So thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Now let's move on to question number 2. Ms. Morrison, you will respond first.
Okay.
The question is, economic development. Economic development is important to Delray Beach. We all know that. How would you define economic development? Why do you feel it's important, and what plans would you implement throughout the city as a whole? 2 minutes.
Perfect question. Thank you, Jim. Economic development is creating a fully sustainable city, which means we can generate the money needed to run the city, to provide all the services and the staffing that we need to adequately and efficiently run this city. We have no such plan in effect right now. It's important because without that map, so to speak, without that blueprint to build, a builder would not build a building without a set of blueprints. It would be ludicrous. How can we make major decisions about our city, such as new LDRs, turning down projects, approving projects, if we don't have an economic development plan, and whether that fits in with it? Is that going to enhance our economic future? Is that going to help our children have jobs to come home to when they graduate from college? Without that roadmap, it's very, very difficult to foresee and plan for our future. So we really need this. Some of the things that should be included are definitely, my world is Southwest, if you know anything about our company. Most of my properties are between Linton and Southwest 10th, federal to Congress and all along Congress. Pardon me. We've worked very hard over the last 4 years. We brought 20 new companies to Delray Beach, 4 to Congress Avenue alone this year. So we are working very hard to create a wonderful tax base, an increased tax base. And with that, all that money comes to the city. It's not like when we're developing the downtown and the money goes to the CRA and doesn't help the city's budget at all. This money all goes directly to the city to help us pay our bills, to help us have a strong police force, good EMS and fire, and all the staffing we need to provide everything we need for our residents. Thank you for asking that question, Jim.
Mr. Smith.
Economic development is the engine that drives our economy. And if, in fact, we did not have ongoing economic development, we would have an economy that would come to a standstill and would be characterized as being stagnant. Development is directly related to the economy of our city. And make no mistake about it, as I previously stated, the economy is the lifeblood of any city or municipality. And I don't think without a vibrant economy, in fact, I know without a vibrant economy, all of the endeavors that we would undertake in trying to represent our residents and represent our cities would be seriously restricted, and of course, that would not be good for the city. And keeping in mind, that my every effort with regard to decisions will always be geared toward representing what's in the best interest of our residents and what's in the best interest of our city. Thank you.
Mr. Bastian.
Thank you. Actually, I like the way Josh put it. It's the engine. It truly is the engine, that's for sure. As a commissioner, there's the option to be able to sit up on the dais, sit and wait for problems to come and try to resolve them. As far as, economic development is for the city, I think it's the opportunity to be able to reach into the community, be able to collaborate, be able to pull people together. That happens to be my specialty. That's what I'm exceptional at. That's what I do on a daily basis for work. As far as a plan, Mrs. Morrison, there's actually a really good one that Joan Goodrich has. It's very comprehensive. It's pretty impressive. I've read through this, and it's not about, it is about what we can do, but it's more about partnering with our city staff. It's about enabling them to be successful. It's about enabling them to reach into the community and utilize the commission to be that success. Now, there are two things that I think we need to highlight. It's definitely bringing small business to our community. We do have 93% of our industry is small business. 45% is actually in the service, food and beverage industry. We need to make that change. We need to diversify our economy. And we need to do that through entrepreneurs, maybe partnering with FAU. There's some people that have started Smart Up Delray. Bringing these communities together are very vital to the well-being. The second thing that's very vital too is to make sure that we protect our commercial and industrial space. It is that helps offset our residential space and our tax base that actually allows us to be able to have services for our residents. So it's very important that we protect that and that we bring businesses there to support it. Thank you.
Mr. Katz.
Thank you. And I also agree, we have a great economic development director here who has put together a plan and sitting on the economic, going to the economic development meetings of the chamber, we've been fortunate to participate in that process. Economic development in the city is, as Dr. Smith said, is our engine. It's extremely important, but it's more than 6 blocks. For so long, we concentrate on these 6 blocks. That's why I want to be the first commissioner in a long time to come from the western part of our city, because there's a lot of opportunity there. If you ever drove on Congress from Boca to Boynton and caught Delray in the middle there and wondered, why are there businesses back in Boca and why is there all these businesses in Boynton and there's just not a lot going on in our town? Because we've been focusing on these 6 blocks. Now, we've done a great job at that, and it's growing. I mean, you say that you don't have to put an advertisement that Delray is the place to be because everybody knows it's the place to be. But we have to start putting some effort into other areas of the city. And I think just by simply being a person who will have to drive by it brings a different perspective to it. Another thing is the economic plan has to do a lot more with more than just small businesses. Small businesses, downtown entrepreneurs are great, and we are going to partner with FAU. They are doing some great things. The small business development, luckily our former economic developer just took over that, and they're going to do some great things here. But many people, especially the raising a family, they want larger companies that are going to be on that Congress corridor, that are going to provide benefits and good salaries. And I'm going to be the person that's going to work to get those types of businesses to the city. I've done it before, working with large corporations in my business life, and I can bring that to the city. So I want to thank you for that. And then also the education, the last piece, we have to improve our schools, because if you ask any business, they want to know we have good schools. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Now moving on to another question, and Mr. Smith, you will respond first. The question is quality of life. Some of these specific quality of life issues being discussed in Delray Beach are traffic, parking, and development throughout the city. What do you think needs to be done to address quality of life in Delray Beach?
I think, first of all, we need to do a better job of listening to what our residents sincerely indicate that they want. We have several instances where in traffic congestion, with regard anything that adversely impact our citizens, anything that adversely impact our residents is a bad thing. And I think that if, in fact, we focus attention upon making absolutely certain that things are not happening, even from a development standpoint. And of course, I'd like to say this, development has been a big issue. And I'm not opposed to development. I just want responsible development. I don't want to see irresponsible development that will end up putting a chokehold on our residents or our cities. So I think that if we consider all of these things and try and stay away from decisions, that will end up adversely impacting our residents, I think that that will enhance the quality of life for all of our residents. Thank you.
Mr. Bastian.
Great, thank you. Delray Beach has an amazing quality of life. We were definitely interrupted by traffic. We're interrupted by not being able to find a parking spot. I think there's been some development concerns recently. And the development piece, we've locked down the LDRs. We're about to. That is going to set us, I think, on a good path moving forward. In the master plan, it was called out in 2001 that we're going to have traffic issues, that we're going to have parking issues, that we need to resolve them. I think it's time, we need to revisit that. We need a full comprehensive plan just around traffic. You got some quick solutions that we can offer just with signaling and, making, First Street southeast to, unidirectional. So I think things like this are just, they're small pieces, but I think it's the big plan that we really need to get Randall and team to really get behind. And I've not spoken with Randall lately, but I'm sure he's all over this because he's got to be getting a lot of pressure on it, especially on the Linton corridor with the addition of Trader Joe's. So, I think that if we can captivate that piece, that would be important. I think from a parking perspective, Donald Shoup said it well that there's the high cost of free parking. So we got to figure that out. I'm not advocating that we do meters by any means, but we need to figure out how we're going to get parking downtown. Are we going to do high rises? Are we going to do parking lots? Are we going to get more trolleys around for our citizens to be able to get around? Can we wrap it all the way around the complete circle of Congress and Linton to bring other communities in without us having to drive into town? So I think there's a lot of solutions that we can look at collectively and bring that to the forefront and really resolve this and nip it. Thank you.
Mr. Katz.
Thank you. I think I speak for most people here that live here. We moved here because of the quality of life. I wish, Bruce, you were here 13 years ago when I took that stroll, and you would have seen the change. I know I think a couple years you're here, but 13 years ago when I was here, when I took that, sorry, I know I'm just saying, it's changed a lot recently, and it's changed for the good, but it hasn't always changed for the good. We have congestion downtown that we didn't have before. Does that mean we have jobs? Absolutely. But we've got to take a smart approach to development. We have to respect what our residents say. We have to bring our residents to the table when we're making a decision about development. There's a reason why I will not let a developer host fundraisers for me, because I don't want to owe them anything. I want the residents is who, they've bought into this. I've met just the other day, knocking on a door, a man who's been here for 50 years, not to mention his name, and I sat down on his porch and spent a half an hour talking to him. And what he told me was he agrees we have to have development, but why are they sacrificing my quality of life for that development? Why was he not brought into that conversation? And that's what I want to be, that person that can bring all of us into that conversation. The developers are going to be part of the conversation, but they're not going to be the ones controlling the conversation. It's going to be equal, the people as well as the developers, so that we have a traffic study done before we approve projects like was approved downtown. We have no idea what impact is that going to have because we didn't take the time to ensure that a traffic study was done before our city approved it. We can't go backwards on that project, but we can move forward and we can do the right thing. And then we can start getting some of this development outside of the downtown that's going to help our economy and help our quality of life. Thank you.
Ms. Morrison.
Sure. Our neighborhoods are the gems of our city. This is the place where you can actually live, work, play, and not get your car out. I mean, that's the theory. I live in Tropic Isle, and on the weekends I play a game with myself. I don't want to get my car out. I ride my bike, I walk. It's that kind of city. And so many other cities want to be just like us. It's crazy. I mean, you have no idea the other cities that come here to see what we do. Anyway, traffic. We have wonderful neighborhoods. We can't let the unintended consequences of development and our success to affect our neighborhoods. I'm thinking particularly of Palm Trail. I'm thinking particularly of the Marina District. Those neighborhoods are in peril, and we are doing nothing to protect them. This development is coming. So what are we doing to protect those neighborhoods? Those are the gems, two of the gems of our city, and we need to protect them. And we've got to do it now. We've got to do it now before that development gets finished and that traffic comes speeding through a neighborhood and hits one of our children or whatever. We don't want to ever have that happen. So we can certainly control the development. We have a say in what's going on. We used to have town hall meetings here. We used to have charrettes, where instead of having someone come and lecture to us and what they want us to hear, we actually talked to each other. Do you all remember those days? We used to sit and talk to each other and share ideas. The latest one I was at was in 2009. It was about the beach, and many of you were there. And we had a very exciting session where we developed a master plan for the beach, which still hasn't been implemented, but that's another story. But we actually sat together, shared ideas. We weren't lectured to. We were made to collaborate and share ideas to get the best what's for our city. We need to bring those type of meetings back, and we will. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one final question now. Mr. Bastian, you will begin answering first. And the question is, what specific action or actions of the City Commission in the past 2 years do you view as a mistake, and why? Your time doesn't start until you talk. Okay.
Only 2 minutes? Hey, Bruce, you only have 2 minutes?
I could go in so many directions. Yeah. Anyway, so you know, what two things did we not like what the commission has done? I mean, the commission's done a lot of great things. We could pick apart what they haven't done, but that to me is really negative, and I really don't want to create a negative environment for the city. That's not my objective. You know, there's things that we don't want to do, and that's give away alleys. We don't want to give away our streets. I think that's definitely something we got to put a stop to. That's a valuable asset for our community. So I would say that would be one. As far as developments are concerned, I think one of the things we could do a better job of is being able to have conversations early on in the projects, to be able to reach out to the community, reach out to the developers, and bring those people together. Because that's what I'm exceptionally good at, as I mentioned before. I love bringing people together. I like taking complex challenges, parsing them down into bite-sized consumable pieces so that we can reach to a common goal. That's what I do exceptionally well. And that's what I think we need on the commission so that we can accomplish things in this city and move things forward. So thank you.
Ms. Morrison.
There's no economic development plan. I'll go back to that. Bruce may have one from Joan. It hasn't been adopted by the city. It's not on our webpage. It's not official. So we need to, that is day one. We've got to do that. The City Commission had contemplated accepting a recommendation from a consultant that was going to raise the height along Atlantic Avenue, East Atlantic Avenue, to 54 feet. That would have, in essence, over a very short period of time, done away with our charming gem of a 2-story and a few 3-story buildings along East Atlantic Avenue from Swinton to the Intercoastal. Thank heavens, the gods intervened and they listened, and that hopefully will not be adopted. We'll leave that height to a lower height and keep that charming, charming downtown that everybody loves. The last hearing on Atlantic Crossing was treated less like a commission hearing, and there was no collaboration. It was treated like a court hearing, and we missed the golden opportunity to have a final say with that developer for what this city wanted, what this city needed. Another access street, a decel lane perhaps, so many things that would make that project more user-friendly to our city. Right now, the way it stands, because that opportunity was not taken, there's no deceleration lanes coming into Atlantic Plaza, so you're going to be going in an active lane of traffic to turn into the project. You'll be going into an active lane of traffic coming out of the project. Very dangerous. The access is limited. There's not enough access, and there was some opportunity for more parking, and we missed that boat too. So I definitely think that there was a misstep there on that last Atlantic crossing. We missed an opportunity to make that a great project, a greater project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Katz.
Could you repeat the question because of the parameters I want to
What specific action or actions of the City Commission in the past 2 years do you view as a mistake, and why?
Great, thank you. First of all, there was one mistake that was made in the middle of March by our commission that was travesty. Now, luckily, that particular mistake was corrected 2 weeks later when our new commission took office. But that travesty, that vote that was taken that night could have cost this city, especially as we learn now, millions of dollars. That night, something was posted, and we right away, and I actually went to that meeting, and I was the only person out of what we have 60,000 plus residents who spoke up and said, what is going on here? We should not be voting on this without the entire commission, something so important. The city manager, the city attorney was begging the commission not to make a decision that night, yet they did. And like I said, even some people on this podium, or on the stage, sorry, were there that night. I was the only person in this city to speak up, mostly because a lot of the residents didn't even know it was going to be on the agenda. But those that were there knew that it was on the agenda. And all I asked was it be tabled so that it could be researched more. That was one mistake, but it was corrected. The next mistake what was it? It was called for Auburn Trace. It was a $4 million loan revision. I'm sorry. It was a $4 million loan revision that was passed to remodify those loans, and then that they are now in bankruptcy, and that's in foreclosure, and the city's had to buy that loan for $4 million, but we could have lost that money with that decision. The second is just not doing a parking study before future projects are done and before the changes were made, even to Sunday Lane. We should be doing a parking study. I don't understand why it hasn't been done. And with that, we need to bring the people, we need to have people involved, speaking up at these meetings. We want to encourage people and welcome them and welcome their thoughts and not snarl them. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Our commission, the vast majority of the time, do a very good job in making decisions, that benefit our residents. But two mistakes come to mind that I would like to expound on. And one of them would be following the recommendation of staffers as it relates to Auburn Trace. That created problems of a phenomenal magnitude and resulted in a tremendous loss of taxpayers' dollars. And I think that was a mistake, and I realize, that it was initiated outside of the 2-year parameters, but it has come back and revisited within the 2-year parameters. The other mistake that I think they made was following the recommendation of staffers as it relates to waste management. Here again, created problems of a phenomenal magnitude, resulted in a monumental loss of taxpayers' dollars, litigation, and everything that was not conducive, to doing what represents the best interests of our residents. So those are two that come to mind, and I hope that, we never have to revisit anything even remotely similar to those two fiascos. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, candidates. Now we're going to move on to part 3 of our debate this evening, and that is where the candidates ask each other questions. Each of you will have an opportunity to ask 2 questions to 2 candidates, but not the same candidate for each question. You'll have to vary it, okay? So we will begin with Mr. Katz, and who would you like to direct your question to? The responses are up to 2 minutes, and the questioner will also have a 30-second rebuttal time should you so desire. So, Mr. Katz. We're going to be able to
ask questions to just 2 of the other people, or?
Well, we're going to go around twice, so the first question to who?
I'll ask Dr. Smith a question. Dr. Smith, since you were a lifelong educator and also have a passion for education as I do, maybe you could share with us some of the first things you would do as a commissioner that could impact education in Delray Beach.
I would try to establish a very meaningful relationship with our district school staff, district superintendent, notwithstanding a perception that there may be a slight void in leadership. But I think that you're going to have to do that before any significant progress can be made as far as assisting our local schools. The same way that they say, all politics are local, education is local, but we have to depend upon, the decisions that are being made by the staffers in the district office. So I would say developing an exceptionally strong relationship with the superintendent and those individuals who make decisions on the district school level would probably give us a leg up on, getting, some influence from them, which would benefit our students and our schools. Thank you.
Mr. Katz, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal if you need it.
Thank you. I actually have to agree with Dr. Smith, and that's one thing that I think the both of us bring to the table is Dr. Smith has worked with past superintendents. I currently, in my volunteer roles, am working very closely with the current administration in the county, and we have to have a dialogue with them. I encourage this same chamber to have the first debate where we would bring it for our school board, and it took place after I had to nudge them. Sometimes I have to nudge a little bit, but it worked, and we got a first debate here, and it was awesome. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Mr. Bastian, your question and the candidate who you direct it to.
Sure. Mrs. Morrison, what are your 3 top specific ideas to increase revenues for this city?
The 3 top ones? First of all, increase our employment base, bring more employers to our city. As I said, that's my day job. I do that because I represent property owners here in town that have large business parks. So we need to, and by the way, none of the companies that I brought here had any economic incentives from our city. There was one that got one from the state, and we had an expansion that got one from the state, but no money from the city. So we did all this on private enterprise. So we need to increase our tax base. We can't keep concentrating, as Mitch says, my friend Mitch here says, you can't keep concentrating on those same 6 blocks. I mean, this is getting old. We got to get out to military. We've got to get out to Congress. We've got to fortify those highways to make them the best they can be, to bring corporate headquarters here, to bring more maker jobs, people that actually make things. Imagine that. Come to Delray Beach. We have a great environment for you to grow. We're not doing that right now, and we could. That's a great way to do it. The second thing is to make sure that we have enough staff to handle what's going on in our city. We are losing money because developers are saying, we just can't get anything done there. It's languish. You don't have enough staff. We have to go through a dozen hearings to get one project done. And we have developers walking away from this city because of that. We need the staff to handle our growth while the sun is shining. This wonderful economy may not last forever. We've got to take advantage of it and run with it while we can and have smart growth and bring companies that are going to enhance our economic base. Third, we've got to look at other sources of revenue. I mean, there's got to be more sources of revenue. And we can do that through LDRs. Let me give you an example. If you drive down the automobile highway of South Federal, south of Linton, you'll see that over the last 3 years, that area has been beautified. And because the LDRs stated, and Paul Dorling did this, that before, when they go for redevelopment of their buildings, they had to bring the landscape up to code. So now you see a beautiful palm tree lined highway, and that's being filled in every time a new car dealer comes there. So those are 3 ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. You have 30 seconds for rebuttal, should you so desire, Mr. Bastian.
Great, thanks. Manufacturing, that was it, right?
Yes.
Bringing manufacturing. No, thanks. I think that was a good response. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, your question.
My question is directed to Ms. Morrison. Ms. Morrison, how would you deal with declining tax revenues? What part of the budget would you cut? What program or services are essential and should never be cut?
In my opinion, and this is my sole opinion, great cities of the world have their own police department and their own fire department, and they provide their own services. I would not want to outsource our basic services such as police and fire. It is expensive. There's no question about it. Of a $103 million budget, we pay over $59 million just in public safety. Public safety is police, fire, and EMT. So it's very expensive, but we need to find ways to keep those services in our city. They're not variable. We also need to have enough staff to run our city, and that goes back to the sustainability factor that I talked about earlier. If we don't have enough money to run the city, we can't run the city the way that you and I and our neighborhoods need it to be run. So we need to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, you have 30 seconds if you care to rebut anything that Ms. Morrison said.
No rebuttal.
Okay. And Ms. Morrison, your question to?
Sure. Our police department.
Who are you
this goes to
directing it
Mr.
to?
Katz. This goes to Mr. Katz, so I'm going to turn my head.
Sure.
Thank you. Our police department is a pillar of our community. They risk their lives every time they come to work every day. They worked for 5 years with no increase in basic salaries. They worked for over a year without any contract, still continuing all the services they provide to our city. We worked very hard to negotiate with the police department, and we got them some salary increases that were amenable to both sides. We cut the legacy costs for the city. We were able to reduce the city's pension obligation with those negotiations. And we're trying to keep as many policemen here as we can. So it was a win-win for the city and for the police department. Why were you so negative about the negotiations we were holding with the police?
Thank you. I don't remember being negative about the negotiations, but I tell you a little bit of my thoughts on our police officers. They're my neighbors. I actually have been president of a homeowners association, was the first workforce housing project ever built in this city. And guess what? Most of my neighbors are police officers, firefighters. I talk to them all the time. Matter of fact, one of them, he just moved out recently. He's had children. He's got another one on the way. He was in our first date because we ended up here. There was a place, a piano bar. He used to be called the Singing Cop. And he actually sang that night. So I'd always joke with him. He was on our first date. But I have a great relationship with our police officers. I actually advocated, and I think I have emails showing it. I've sent commissioners advocating, and I've spoke in favor, if you'd like for me to show you, for them to get raises. Am I pragmatic and am I a realist to realize that we had to look at their pensions, not the pensions themselves, but the funds? What I was negative about was that not the police officers, the commissioners wouldn't take a look at the people who manage those funds. We had one fund, which was our general employees, during a time when just to show you a little directive, the employees fund went like this, the same amount of money. Then the police fund went up, but it only went like this during the same economy because of the people that were managing it. And we had to look at how they were managing it. Are they going on trips to Hawaii, or are they taking care of our citizens' dollars? And trust me, I care for those police officers. Matter of fact, I don't even want the endorsement of the police officers union because I endorse the police officers and the firefighters in this city, and I respect them. I live with them. I talk to them every day, and we have to fight for them, and we need to make sure the commissioners are doing the right thing so when they retire, that money is there, and that we keep the promises we made to them when we hired them. We must do that.
Ms. Morrison?
No rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on now to the second round of questions. Mr. Smith, your question to anyone except Ms. Morrison.
Mr. Bastian.
Mr. Bastian.
Mr. Bastian, what do you think are the most important issues facing the city in the next 2 years?
I think one is developing how many do you want? 2, 3?
Just one.
I think it's economic vitality. We've got a downtown that, I mean, we all talk about it. It's more than just downtown, but unfortunately that is our industry. Service, retail, and food and beverage. And I think it's important that we really need to diversify that. If we don't diversify that, we could potentially are at risk of just being a trend, and that trend can easily move. So we need to be able to establish that city so that we do work, live, play, learn, and raise our family, like Colleen and I do. So I think economic vitality is the most important thing that we need to focus on. And that's why, with my tenure at Cisco, my skill set to be able to do that, bringing that competitive advantage to my customers is a big advantage that I can bring to the City Commission. Thank you.
Any response, Mr. Smith?
Yes, I would have a question. You feel as though that problem trumps the problems that are being experienced in our purchasing department?
Well, you had your question. You have 30 seconds for a rebuttal to what Mr. Bastian said, not another question.
No rebuttal.
Okay, you're good. All right, Ms. Morrison, your question.
May I ask Dr. Smith a question?
Sure.
Dr. Smith, and he hates when I call him that, but I do it out of respect. You have no idea the respect I have for you with educators, so I'll call you Dr. Smith. Tell me how, with all the massive development coming to West Atlantic, how we're going to protect those wonderful neighborhoods that lie beyond Atlantic Avenue.
I think it's all going to begin with the LDR. And I think that the way that the initial LDR plan was drawn up, I didn't perceive it very positively. I think with the revisions that have been made to it, which basically eliminated, the bonus density, which would have increased the density in the height of buildings, is a much better alternative than the original. And I think that, West Atlantic Avenue it's thriving, and I think it's going to be a vital part of our economy. And I just feel as though, I can get my thoughts straight here, that great strides have been made in the development of Atlantic Avenue. And I especially want to be a voice, for those who are economically disadvantaged, those who are without a voice, and those who are disenfranchised, and the vast majority of whom are African Americans. But I think the LDR plan, making absolutely certain that it's thorough, and of course, it's consistent. I think that that's what we're talking about, because then, of course, you would be assured of being objective, fair, and consistent throughout the city.
Thank you.
Ms. Morrison, any response?
What do you think the CRA could do to help protect that neighborhood?
Not another question.
I don't have to. I'm sorry. Don't you think the CRA could help protect that neighborhood moving forward? Is that not part of the plan?
Okay.
Well,
thank you very much. It's another question.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
All right. Moving on. Mr. Katz, your question to anyone except Dr. Smith.
Got it. I'm going to go with Christina.
Sure.
One thing I've made a pledge not to take money from special interests, in particular developers, because there's so many projects that are going to come before one of us. Christina, as we all know, one of the biggest development projects that one of us will see in the next 3 years is going to be the Hudson Holdings Sunday Lane project. How will you be able to ensure that you have the residents' best interests in your decision making, since you recently held a fundraiser at the Sunday House hosted by the principals of Hudson Holdings?
Sure. Well, first of all, if I have to step down from the Diaz for that decision, I will do that. I think the reason that that I think developers, first of all, developers give to all campaigns. That's just something they do. You ask them for money, they give money. They want to protect their future here in the city. So I'm not the only one that ever accepted money from the developers. So let's put that out there. Second of all, I firmly believe in the Sunday House project. There was some controversy early on that some of the historic buildings had to be taken to accommodate that site plan. However, those historic buildings, because of our city, were let to rot. I mean, if you drive down First Avenue and you drive down South Swinton, those buildings are rotting. They've been sitting there for years, no attention. And because of our code, we don't have enough code people to enforce our own regulations. So the fact that some of those are going to be moved or torn down to make way for a beautiful expansion of the Sunday House wedding operation, I think was a win-win for this city. The plan that they have for the corner of Atlantic and Swinton will be nothing short of spectacular. And if I have to step down when they bring it forward, I will step down, you betcha. I've abided by a code of ethics for 20 years. I'm not changing now.
Well,
Mr. Katz, 30 seconds.
Well, it's one of the biggest decisions coming. I would hope that we're going to have 5 commissioners up to make that decision. So that's why I'm not asking for that money from those developers, because I want to have 5 commissioners up there. So if you obviously vote, if she's our commissioner, we're only going to have 4 making, and that's going to be a huge decision, because when you talk about tearing down those homes, that's the history. My children here, I want them to be able to bring them downtown here and show them the history of this city. That's one of the reasons I moved here. And we can't just bring in bulldozers and knock down that history. So we have to work together to do it right.
Thank you.
They're building down hovels.
Mr. Bastian, your question to anyone except Ms. Morrison.
Or Mr. Smith.
No, you can ask Mr. Smith.
Well, actually, I have one for Mr. Katz. You know, the economy to me is one of my main pillars of my campaign. I think it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important to Delray Beach. It's incredibly important for our kids to be able to come back and have jobs. And I appreciate the fact that you've been an HOA president. I was as well at my last OHA. I think I guess you've done some good things. There's also been issues, I think, with all the window issues at the HOA, which you haven't been able to resolve in the past 10 years. So I appreciate that you haven't been able to raise assessments, but you may want to look at that, actually. And being an educator, I really want to know, with the economy being my main platform, what are your qualifications? Help us understand your qualifications to be able to bring and continue the growth of the economic vitality for Delray Beach.
Absolutely. First, you asked me about Bexley Park and our windows, because I've been on the news because I've actually been fighting that fight for a long time, and we actually have made a lot of progress on that. First thing is, the judge told us that as an association, as the president of the association and our board, by law, we cannot do anything with those windows. We cannot do anything inside the homes, the outside the buildings. As an association, we're only allowed to paint them. So because of that, our lawsuit changed a different firm. Now we're in a class action lawsuit against the builder. And I don't know if you were here, I guess not. Anyway, a couple years ago, I spoke at our commission meeting, and I asked our mayor to write a letter to the builder, try to bring them to the table. So I've addressed that, and I think if you went and actually walked our community and talked to our residents, they're happy with the progress that I've made there. So I have looked into it. As far as being able to work with businesses, bring economy here, I work for one of the largest universities in the country. I partnered with some of the largest school districts in the country. I've just recently landed a partnership with the Florida college system, where every single employee of this college can help them with their tuition when they're pursuing an advanced degree. I worked with corporations in my previous life and other careers, but I've always been somebody that brings people together and partners. Matter of fact, I actually built into the description of what we have about 250 people that kind of do what I do for the company. And I'm the only one that does those types of partnerships, because I can collaborate so well with especially state institutions, different bodies of government, as well as large Fortune 500 companies. I just started a dialogue with one of the largest companies in Boca to partner with our business. So I absolutely feel that I could do that, and I can continue to do some of the great things that we've done here in our town.
Mr. Bastian, you have 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
Sure, thank you. As far as qualifications, I think it's nice to build partnerships. However, I think building partnerships, it's more than that, to be able to bring economic vitality and jobs and things like that to Delray Beach. And I think, you know, as we look at being able to bring those companies, being able to have those executive relationships, being able to have those conversations and encourage them to come to Delray Beach, because we have an amazing city, as we all know, and that's why we're here, because we love this city. So with that, okay, I'm stopping.
Okay. Well, thank you for your questions and your responses. And now to the final part of our debate for C3. That are the closing remarks, and we're going to go in reverse order from the opening statement. So, Josh Smith, you will go first with your closing statement, and you have up to 2 minutes.
Our community has had great support from several commissioners, but our community came to me in the 11th hour and implored me to enter the race and represent the community from the standpoint of someone who has actually lived their experiences, advocating on their behalf whenever necessary. The added diversity, I feel, will also be great for our city. It was a significant factor in both instances of our becoming an all-America city. Race relations, in my considered opinion, and the opinion of a lot of individuals that I've talked to, are presently the best that they have ever been in Delray Beach. No one ethnic group has a monopoly upon being victimized by our economy, because our economy has wreaked havoc upon some of all of our residents. Our national economy does not discriminate. It operates on the premise of providing equal opportunity problems and frustration. So strong consideration will always be given to what our residents want citywide. I simply ask for your support with regard to my candidacy. Thank you.
Ms. Morrison?
Well, I'm standing up here and I'm probably not a stranger to most of you. You probably see me around town. You hear me speak at City Commission meetings and at P&Z meetings, at the CRA, begging for more police dollars, and the various charrettes and planning sessions that we used to have. And always at our beautiful beach. We spend the weekend at the beach, so we love it there. I am heavily involved in Delray Beach and heavily invested here. I have my business here, I have my home here, I spend my time here, and I donate my time here. My goals for our city include making Delray Beach a more livable city, from the ocean to west of Military, a more walkable, drivable, bikeable, safer and more friendly village by the sea. We also need more fiscal responsibility, and we can achieve this with an expanded tax base, as I spoke about. Larger employment base throughout the city, not just downtown, and especially on the Congress Avenue corridor and in the Commerce Corridor. With more industry, corporate headquarters, and high-paying jobs, that will help bring economic vitality and secure it for our city's future. We need to protect our neighborhoods and keep them safe and clean and enjoyable, and protect it from the unintended consequences of our own success and future development. We need a city government that's respectful to all city employees and to those who want to prosper here. That's been lacking, and I want to bring that back. I want to bring back the nice. My children are grown, and they are productive citizens, and I'm so proud of them. I have shown over the last 10 years that I have the time, the energy, the commitment, the knowledge, and the qualifications to be your next city commissioner. I will work from day one to make these changes in our city that are needed for our future. I am Christina Morrison, and I need your vote on March 10th. Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot has...
Mr. Katz.
Thank you. A lot has changed here in this village by the sea since I landed here 13 years ago. A lot for the better, but our increased popularity has created a robust, thriving community and attracted larger developments in our downtown. As a result of that, we're experiencing more traffic, congestion, makes it hard to get around. It affects our quality of life. We have to take a smart approach to development. We have to take a prudent approach to our economy and our future. I have a proven track record of being a good steward of residents' dollars, because at the end of the day, our job is not economic development director, and somebody up here would do a great job if Jean ever leaves. But she's here, that's her job. The City Commission manages two people, our city attorney and our city manager. And that means you need somebody who knows how to manage people, not necessarily just with selling to companies. We have to continually, as HOA president, I've proven that I can work with the citizens, and that I'm going to have their tax dollars at the best interest, and I'm going to take that into consideration. I've done that as our HOA president. I've done that in other positions that I've held as well. And I want to ensure that we're keeping the best services at the lowest prices by bidding out contracts. Just recently saved $8 million. And one other thing is we still have to keep an eye on is our sober homes, and we need to work. Just today, I talked to our Senator Clemens' office to get an update on the sober home issue. And we need to keep an eye on that. We need to work closely with the Senate and the legislature to make sure, and the federal government, that our quality of life is not being interrupted, and those that are coming here for sober treatment have the proper services. So we have to remember that. We are one Delray. It doesn't matter whether you live east, west, you live by me, you live by the beach in a $1 million home, or you live in the southwest, northwest neighborhood, you live south of Linton, you live north of Boynton. It does not matter where you live, we are one Delray. And I hope I'm the person to bring us all together. So I want to thank you for your vote Tuesday, March 10th, and I'm honored to serve as your commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. And Mr. Bastian.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody, again, for attending. You know, I don't think it matters how long somebody's lived here. I think what it is, it's the experience that they bring to the community. I think it's the ability for me to be able to have the energy and the passion to work with each of you. I've met so many people over the past month. I've knocked on 500 doors already. It's been amazing at the stories that I've been able to work with people to understand their concerns and listen to them and realize, wow, we've got some major problems within Delray. But when you really kind of lift up above all of that, we have an amazing town. We cannot forget that. We need to be able to dig into the community. We need to help stimulate them. We need to help vitalize them and encourage them and motivate them to reach their goals. And I think as a commissioner, I have the skill set to be able to do that with passion and time. And I love doing that. And that's why I love Delray. And I think that's why we love Delray. And that's why I couldn't resist but to pick that URL for my campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, I love your vote on March 10th, too.
Candidates, I'd like to say thank you for joining us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the candidates for Delray Beach City Commission, Seat 3.
Thank you, Jim.